Well, hello everybody. It's Brother Todd with your Victory Minute. I hope you guys are having a good day today. I'm sitting here in the office and we got to working on some stuff this morning. I forgot to make this minute, and maybe my thoughts needed to tie up a little bit closer together before I hatched it out, so to speak. I was thinking the other day about a verse of scripture from 2 Corinthians chapter 6, where Paul said we are unknown and yet we're well known. And I thought about the title for a message that I'm thinking about preaching this coming weekend, called Famous Where It Counts. And anyway, that's been rolling around in my head today, and I thought I didn't plan on talking about it in this minute or anything. And then when I come in, one of the guys had come by and was talking to Brother David Gilmer this morning. He told me, he said, "Man, I watch him minutes every day." And this old boy comes out of racing culture and automotive culture. And he said, "I like when Brother Todd talks about his grandpa and machine shop and stuff. My grandfather was an automotive machinist, engine machinist, that ran a big place up in Dallas for a long time, then had his own business. And in fact, if you look, the reason I set this camera up the way I did, I don't know if you can see it back there behind me, but there's two big red things back there, and those are boring bars, portable boring bars. My grandfather liked Van Norman tools. In fact, right there in that whole section, right up on top of it, I got one of my dad's old torque wrenches. My daddy is a heavy equipment mechanic. When I put my hands up, I mean, he's at torque wrenches. It's long. It'll pull about 300 pounds. It takes a man to pull it. But anyway, I keep them things. They remind me of where I come from. And you can lose yourself in air conditioning and books sometimes. So you gotta keep it real, so to speak. But anyway, my old granddaddy was really well known in that business, and he was really well known where it mattered, with his family, with his church. When he died, there's a woman who was at church I just started pastoring not very long, had only known him a few months, and he died, and that place was just overwhelmed with humans. They were all over the place. And man, we had church that day. It was just a celebration. Well, Patty wrote a poem called A Celebration, and she talked about the fact of just kind of almost being like an outsider to this family and this man, but yet having been touched by him and seeing the effect he had, just small town business owner, but yet she talked about how you could tell he had such an impact. Well, he had the impact where it mattered. He had the impact with those that he loved the most and with those that loved him the most. You know, in this world, you can be famous, but not where it counts. Famous with a culture that don't care about you. One minute they care about you, one minute they hate you. I remember when I was a boy, I was the biggest cowboy fan you ever saw in your life. And Roger Staubach was quarterback then, you know, and old Captain Comeback. And I remember sometimes, boy, you know, they'd be coming back and something bad had happened. I'd be so mad at Roger Staubach. And then a little later, I heard him say on a news interview, they've said something about it, and everybody was being down on him. And he said, "Well, the same group that cheers you one Sunday be booing you the next Sunday." And that's the crowd. That's the mob. And you can be famous with the mob, and that's what it seems like everybody in this world wants to get, is rich and famous. But you know, those people end up dying mostly forgotten. And even if everybody in the world knows your name, but nobody really knows who you are, and you don't know anybody, what difference does it make? You got to be famous where it counts. I know a lot of you guys and gals that listen to me. In fact, they tell me that there's more men that listen to these things than there are women folk that listen to them. And so let me just challenge you daddies, and true of the girls too. Don't get me wrong, but I know there's just more guys watching me. Be famous with your kids. Be famous with your grandkids. Be famous with the neighborhood kids. One of the most prized possessions I got is a little plaque that got given to me when I was coaching my little brother's baseball team. And they come up with an acronym called PV Ball. And man, we practiced in the cow pasture and all this stuff. We went to state tournament every year. I mean, them kids could play ball. Don't get me wrong. Well, it sure wasn't from the coaching. But anyway, one of those kids, he when he first come up, he got on the team, and he just really wasn't that good, you know. He had potential, But he come from some difficulties and different things, and he was getting kind of soft. And anyway, one year, he might come up to bat one time, a game maybe, but he fought through and he worked hard. And anyway, he next year he was starting first baseman. Well, that kid ended up being he was all everything in football in high school. He was all everything in baseball. That kid knocked home run better than anything you ever saw. He's a doctor now. But he told me one of the things that had helped him believe that he could go on to medical school and that kind of thing was the lessons he learned playing with me and Troy, which was my middle brother. Trey's my baby brother. He was on the team. He's quite a bit younger than we are. But anyhow, he said, it was one of the things that changed his way of thinking was that time with us, and he would always appreciate us. Now, I'm not saying that just to, the reality is, boy had more talent than he knew he had. He just had to grow into it. But it mattered to him. Now, nobody knows really him, but he's helped a whole lot of people all through this world. And sure, nobody knows every little bit and piece that made part of his life. But I'm blessed to be a little part there. And that's where it matters. Where you touch somebody's life in a way that gives unto them and blesses them and builds them. I know these COVID times are tough. Frankly, one of the reasons I'm late this morning is we're sitting here watching the fact these COVID-19 cases are going up through the roof. And, still running our plan and all that. We're not going to make any final decisions on what we're going to do. We're still planning on July the 11th and 12th. Lord willing, that's what we're going to be able to do. We won't make a final decision on that till a week from now. But anyhow, that I don't say that to get you shaky about what we're going to do, because that's our plan right now. But don't get me wrong, we're watching it, and these are challenging times. I just got through reading a letter here coming on the internet from a friend of mine in the Philippines, and the fact there's a lot of folks in the Philippines watch these minutes, watch us on our Sunday broadcast. But anyhow, they've had it hard, because in that part of the world they started off this year with a volcanic eruption, and about the time they were finally getting to start back live, COVID-19 started up. In fact, they won't even let anybody under 20 or anybody over 60 out of the house in the Philippines. You ain't going nowhere. And they have one of the fantastic Christian schools, and well, anyway, it's been devastating. But they've risen to the challenge. They're doing some things they never thought about doing in meeting needs and those kinds of things. And what you say, Brother Todd, what do you say? And I'm saying you do something with the times you're given, and we've got that opportunity. We've got that here at Victory Church. You got it in your life. But the main thing is to make sure you're doing the things that matter where they matter. Make sure your focus is on something eternal. And make sure your focus is on those that love you and you love them and they're close to you. It's the weirdest thing in the world. I've seen guys bend over backwards to help the neighbors out and the neighbor kids out, but we neglect their own kids in the household because they're just used to them being under their feet. You got to recognize that the ones that God's made you the closest to and stewards of are the ones He wants you having the biggest impact with. You need to have your biggest impact with your church. You need to have your biggest impact with your family. You need to have your biggest impact with your community. And while nobody may ever remember you, it really doesn't matter. I sat back, I was thinking about making this little tape, and I thought about an old preacher named G.W. Hullett. He was a master plumber. He worked all year long, pastored a church full time, and come about from May till the fall. He'd take off work, spend every money he had going out preaching revivals all over the place. There's people in East Texas and in Dallas that whole families and lives are different because that man showed up with, if you know Brother Hullett, he had a Bible tucked under his arm. He knew that Bible so well he never even opened it up when he preached. He'd quote it, tucked up underneath his arm. And nobody remembers that old plumber preacher. Those of us that know him, it matters. He helped me when I started off in preaching with my fathers in the ministry. But the grand scheme of the world don't know him. Nobody writes about him, and nobody studies his preaching in seminaries. But it mattered. His life mattered where it mattered. Raised up 3 girls, one of them special needs, and Him and his wife, they just served the Lord, and he went till God called him home. And it matters where it matters. I've seen a lot of people, and I've been around in many a deathbed, and I've preached at many a funeral. And you don't know how many kids I've had tell me getting ready for the funeral, well, the truth is, Brother Todd, I just didn't really know my dad. My dad was a good man. Everybody liked him. But I don't know what to tell you because I really didn't know him. That's a shame. That's a shame. Put your emphasis. Make sure you take care of the main things first. Me and Misty, we got a little saying. We call it Todd and Misty Incorporated. And that is, we're going to make sure that the things we need to do for each other and with each other, that's the first order of business. We don't worry about no other business till I worry about Misty's business. I got two priorities in my life. That is my Lord and my family. And whatever it costs me to put something in them that matters, that's my biggest chance to see them changed and blessed eternally, but to see them walk in power now. I live my life based on building blocks that my great-granddaddies and granddaddies and my folks, my parents laid down for me. And I owe those that I love to start them on the building blocks I already have and add to their life. And in this COVID-19 time, crazy as it is a time where you can build into somebody's life. Normal's changing. Normals change. And I hope that you can perceive it and grasp it, and that you can make it matter where it counts. Make it matter where it counts. Don't get so hung up on getting rich that your family's poor. Don't get so hung up on being known that you're a stranger to those around you. You want to look at things. Read around about the lives of like old Hollywood stars and people that are famous, and look at how many times they had to walk away from family to chase some dream. One of the saddest things I've ever seen in my life, some woman here about a year or so ago giving her a speech and was being so glad that she could abort 2 children so they didn't get in the way of her career. And now that she's won her Oscar, now she's going to go ahead and have this baby. What a tragedy. 2 lives sold for what? A gold statue nobody's going to remember, and it doesn't even matter. It's collecting dust on a shelf somewhere right now. Make sure your life matters where it counts. God's given you this day. May not be the easiest days the world's ever seen, but you know what? We got them. And to quote old Solomon, and as I think about my life a lot, I've heard me say it on here before, a living dog is better than a dead lion. I got a chance. I'm going to use the opportunity I got. I don't care about being known in New York City, but I sure better be known in Kaufman County. Amen. Think about it with me today. Hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.